All right, hello and welcome back to online English class. Hope you guys are doing well today. Today is May the 6th. It's the Wednesday. Yesterday you should have completed your Unit 6 test, which is about or was about synthetic argumentation. Right. Today we are going to be engaging in the drafting process for your quarter 4 essay, which we're going to be doing intentionally over the next 3 class periods: Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. After this week has come to an end, we're going to turn our attention to the preparation for the AP exam on May 20th. This means that you honors and regular students who aren't going to be taking that exam can use the rest of the time in the semester to make sure that your quarter 4 essay is excellent, which can be submitted to me anytime from May 18th to May 22nd. All right. So, uh, uh, before we get into our work on the drafting process, in which we're going to just remind ourselves the basic details of the assignment and then look at the first couple focus points that we're going to pay attention to today. Before we do that, let's just quickly run through the rest of the top of the week announcements. All right, first and foremost, make sure you are remembering your discussion grade procedure on a daily basis. Okay, second most, make sure that you are engaging in the drafting process throughout the course of this week. All right, that is the second goal that we are going to accomplish throughout the course of this week. You should have already completed your Unit 6 test. That should be in my inbox. If there's any reason why it's not, then you need to let me know, and we'll talk through what the fallout for your late submission will be. Perhaps there will be no penalty, depending on the circumstances, or perhaps there will be. All right, but just let me know if it's not in my inbox by today, which is Wednesday. Then we need to figure out something, okay? All right, beyond that, if you're in the AP class, you've got some clerical work to do, and this is important work that you need to get done. All right, first of all, you need to read the 2020 AP testing guide. Please do not skimp through this. Please do not say, oh, well, this is just a bunch of information that my teachers are going to tell me the important stuff about this anyway, so I'm not going to read this. Okay, read this information. That way, you have no excuses. I'm telling you to read this. It means that you have no excuses. Okay, you are more than capable of reading this information and understanding precisely what you are expected to do on the testing, in preparation for the test, on the testing day, and then also moving forward. Okay, so beyond that, you need to make sure that you complete your 2020 AP exam day checklist, and then also complete the testing demo by May 6th at 3 p.m. All right, so please do not skimp these tasks. Make sure that you do them. All right. Contextualizing all this is our ongoing work on the quarter 4 essay, which is due anytime from May 18th to 22nd, to say again. All right. So now, without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our essay workshop for the day. These are going to be sort of quick bites of essay advice and sort of mini lessons about stuff that you already should know, stuff that we've been discussing for a long time in your English education, but I'm going to point to yet again, and then I'm going to set you to work on your essay on a daily basis, okay? So, first, right, the first thing that I want to do is I want to review the task at hand for both classes. And the task at hand for both classes is pretty similar, okay? It's a synthetic argument. It's a research essay, okay? So you might say, well, I'm in the honors class, not AP. I'm in the regular class, not the honors class. Okay, well, I'm sorry. Synthetic argumentation is synthetic argumentation, and it takes a little bit of time in order to develop an argument that is research-based. You can't write a one-page research argument about an authentically contentious issue. You're not going to be able to say enough to offer any kind of persuasive claim of fact, value, or policy in one page. Okay, so to that end, all right, the AP page count is 5 to 7, the honors page count is 5 to 7, and the regular page count is 4 to 6. Okay, I would probably be aiming to the upper side of those page counts if you are going to develop a persuasive argument, a line of reasoning that is well developed enough to answer a question with respect to an authentically contentious issue. Okay, uh, I've stripped down the length requirement for Corona because of these circumstances. That's something that I said that I was going to do. It's something I was told to do. Um, uh, I if you can write a persuasive paper in 5 pages, go for it. All right, show me. Okay, I think that that's definitely possible. But you're just going to need to make sure that your line of reasoning is well developed. When you hit 5 pages, it doesn't mean that your argument's over. It doesn't mean that you've completed the assignment. Completing the assignment means constructing a well developed synthetic argument, no matter how many pages that might take. It might take 5, all right, it might take 10. I don't know. It depends on the nature of the conversation that you have entered into. Okay. So obviously, basic stuff like don't cite SparkNotes, don't cite from Wikipedia, use actual published professional resources. Okay. It's due May 18th to the 22nd. If you are an AP, you need to quote directly from 4 sources. All right. If you are in regular, you need to quote, or sorry, honors, you need to quote from, similar to the AP course, 4 sources. If you are in regular, you need to quote from at least 3. All right. So a little bit less legwork, but in the end, everyone in the 11th grade, everyone in the course is doing something pretty similar. I'm going to grade it with different levels of rigor according to the class that you are enrolled in. But ultimately, the task is pretty much the same. Okay, it's a research paper. Okay, all right. So what's the prompt? Well, ultimately, you need to write an essay in response to a topic that you have selected for yourself. Okay, this is something we're going to talk about a little bit later. Topic selection. But you can write a claim of policy, value, or fact, so your central claim is going to be derived from the question and the topic that you've selected. All right. Uh, uh, Ultimately, right, you just need to make sure that that claim is being supported by some kind of use of outside resources to develop a cogent line of reasoning. Okay. All right, so the first focus point that we're going to talk about today on the AP side has to do with making strategic choices in a text to address the rhetorical situation. All right, that's going to involve you writing effective introductions. All right, and also conclusions. We're not going to talk about conclusions today, but writing an effective introduction, what that would look like. All right, and demonstrating an understanding of the audience's beliefs, values, or needs. Okay, so let me unpack this just really quickly. And by the way, this is the same focus point. It's different words because the College Board and the Florida State Standards have different language, but it's ultimately the same principle. All right, good writing is good writing. It doesn't matter if it's the Florida State Standards, which I use in the honors and regular course, or the College Board standards for AP language. It's just good writing. All right, and this first focus point about the writing process has to do with planning. All right, generating ideas about the prompt, understanding what you're being asked to do. All you do whenever you generate ideas about a prompt is, guess what? Analyze the rhetorical situation, understand what your audience needs, understand what your audience values and how that shapes the way that you present the information in your argument. Figure out what your central claim is going to look like, what subject you are going to be exploring. That has to do with addressing the rhetorical situation, developing a topic that is appropriate for the context of the rhetorical situation, and then introducing that topic effectively and leading into your central claim effectively. In other words, guys, right, these are different names for the same thing. All right, the Florida State Standards emphasize writing process. The AP College Board standards emphasize addressing a rhetorical situation. Guess what that basically means? The same thing. All right, so let's look at a document that does that effectively. Let's look at a document that addresses a rhetorical situation, writes an effective introduction, has clearly generated ideas about the prompt, all right, and has adopted to the rhetorical situation that they have been asked to enter into. Okay, so this comes from a past AP language essay, and it's about Disney and the feminine identity. Okay, so a pretty interesting topic if you ask me, and especially because the analysis offered is really, really good. Okay, this is not some lame like Disney feminine, women's girl power punch, yay. give girls swords, and then we'll have equality and peace on earth. Okay, it is not a lame analysis like that, but rather a careful and thoughtful analysis of the feminine identity as it relates to Disney. Okay, so first and foremost, just about the topic selected. The topic selected in the essay is contentious. Disney is a relevant corporation who produces media that people all over the United States consume, and that notably has a loud voice in shaping the identities of young girls, and has for a very long time, right? What are young girls obsessed with? They're obsessed with Disney princesses. They're obsessed with Cinderella. They're obsessed with Elsa. Okay, they're obsessed with all of these sort of female role models that are offered to young women by Disney princesses, and that's been a cultural norm in America for quite a long time. Okay, and so this writer has decided that they are going to talk about whether or not Disney's influence on the feminine identity, on young girls' conception of themselves as women, and what it means to be a good woman, all right, what it means to be ideal, or some kind of target to shoot at in terms of the internal life of what it means to be a woman, all right, in our society. That is an inherently interesting topic, all right? But that topic doesn't necessarily answer the question, all right, what's your central claim going to be? Well, the next step that the student takes is going to be developing their central claim, okay? But before we look at the student's central claim, I just want to note some other ways in which the student has adopted the rhetorical situation, okay? So first and foremost, has she selected has this student selected a contentious issue to write about? Yes. All right. That is first and foremost the most important aspect of this argument. If you're arguing about something that isn't contentious, then you're already failing. Okay. You're already not adopting to the rhetorical situation. You haven't generated ideas about the prompt and adapted to it correctly. Okay. The second thing that you need to recognize is her formatting and presentation, right? Notice it's in MLA formatting, all right? This is non-negotiable. This is something that I need. This is something that I, as your audience, value, because we're in academic rhetorical context. You have the responsibility to make sure that your essay adheres to those basic forms and structures. If you're not doing that, all right, then it's harming your ethos. It is harming the presentation of your paper. Okay, so we've got our header here with last name and a page number. Notice that this is not in the text of the essay. This is in a thing called a header. All right, you guys see this little thing at the top of the page? It's called a header, and it puts this in every page of the essay. Please do that correctly. Then we've got student name, class name, teacher name, and also the date that the essay was turned in, whenever it was turned in the past. All right. At the end of the essay, right, we've got a works cited page citing all of the sources that were used. These citations are in alphabetical order, exactly as they should be. The first name is justified left, and the second line is indented. That's so that the reader can easily scan through and look at all the authors that were used. The sources themselves are reliable sources or good sources that come from that are a mixture of contemporary magazine articles and very famous kinds of feminist writings like Madeline Kunin, all right, a notable feminist writer. The student cites from The Feminine Mystique. All right, that's another very famous kind of feminist text. All right, that's used here. So, in other words, what you should see here is that the student. All right, I'm sure that you're probably getting bored right now. Stick with me. All right, what you should see here is that the student has adapted to the rhetorical situation by selecting an authentically contentious claim that does have to do, that is relevant in contemporary American society. Okay? Now, on the surface of things, it would seem that, well, Disney, I mean, come on, those are cartoons. That's not exactly that important, is it? Well, one of the primary tasks that the student is going to undertake in the essay is to show me how important it actually is. All right, and the student demonstrates that very effectively by explaining the extent to which children are exposed to media on a daily basis. We'll be talking about this later when we talk about the source use and the logic of the source use of this essay. Okay. So, has the student adopted to the rhetorical situation? Is it clear that the student has generated ideas about the prompt and has developed an essay and a plan and a topic that is that satisfies the requirements of this rhetorical situation, this prompt? The answer to that question with respect to this essay is yes. The answer to the question with respect to your essay should also be yes. All right, the second focus point that I want to talk about today, very simply, is the thesis statement. All right, we're not going to look at the line of reasoning yet, but today we're going to look at the thesis statement. All right, so the Florida State standards say stuff like, I want you to be able to construct a thesis statement that offers a precise and knowledgeable claim, connects to an introduction that explains the claim's significance, distinguishes itself from alternate or opposing claims, which is very easy to do. It just means that you have made a claim that is not also the opposition's claim. All right, and might create a logical sequence for the essay, which is to say it introduces what is going to be discussed in a logical order. All right, ready for the AP's statement, right? Write a thesis statement that requires proof or defense that may or may not, but might preview the structure of the argument. Previewing the structure of the argument is the College Board's way of saying, ready, creates a logical sequence for the essay. The structure of the argument should be logical. It should offer a series of assertions that support the central claim. Okay, an effective introduction, as we've already discussed, is one that is connected to the thesis statement. So you see how there are overlaps between the focus points both of the Florida State standards and also of the AP course. I hope you're seeing those overlaps, because in the end, good writing is good writing. So what do we need to look for in this central claim? Well, all right, first I want to think about what kind of claim it is. Okay, second, I want to see if it is indeed a thesis statement that requires proof, and if so, what kind of proof does it require? And finally, I want to see if it establishes a structure or a logic for the essay. All right? So the introduction reads as follows. From the workplace to the movie screen, from the classroom to the field, a new brand of feminists have stepped into the forefront of American culture. And one of the loudest resources for communicating their agenda is a seemingly apolitical vehicle. All right, Disney movies. When we use apolitical in this sense, what we mean is it's a lot of times people assume that Disney movies do not have sort of social or political values laden in them. They're just kids movies for kids. They don't do anything socially. They don't have political implications. All right, which is obviously inane and illogical. They certainly do, and I'm not saying that kids understand them, but the point of almost all children's fictions, from Dr. Seuss to Disney, is to begin the process of layering values into the young mind, the young heart, and the young consciousness. Everyone understands that that is the best way to create a good person, a socially conscious individual. So, very unlike Dominic Bellows' very silly comment back in ninth grade that Zootopia did not have any racial overtones or undertones, very much those movies do have those kinds of overtones and undertones. All right. So in the early years of the franchise, Disney movies may have appeared to be rather passive and conservative. However, the ideals of the culture have shifted. So have the values of Disney movies. Among other hot topics, a major target of Disney's political agendas is, and has always been, the female identity, seen specifically in the Disney princesses. Disney princesses are marked are marketed specifically towards young girls between the ages of 3 and 12. These young viewers are highly receptive to the messages displayed in movies. This fact begs the question: knowing the depth to which young consumers internalize the values conveyed to them, is Disney responsibly portraying an ideal feminine identity to its young viewers? The answer to this question is no, both in the present and the past. The development of Disney princesses displays Disney's history of a misguided understanding of femininity, a hallmark of the franchise that is just as distinctive as the giant talking mouse. Okay, so we've got a little rhetorical device there. We've got some irony, some humor laden in, but it's also contextualized by some sophisticated analysis and logical questioning. Okay, so here's our central question. Our central claim that answers the most basic questions at the heart of this essay. Given that Disney princesses are extremely influential in shaping the respective identities of young women, and that influence is used to model harmful definitions of what it means to be a woman to naive and vulnerable consumers, i.e., children, it follows that those responsible for raising young girls should consciously seek out alternative fictional feminine models for their young girls to engage. It is imperative that these alternative models be accessible to the child's imagination and engaged with in the context of play to build an alternative narrative of femininity that champions deliberate choice and the service of one's community at the expense of comfort. Wow. All right. So that's an interesting claim. What does it? What kind of proof does it require? Well, first of all, you have to prove this statement, this given. All right. You have to prove that Disney princesses are indeed extremely influential in shaping the identities of young women. That's the first hurdle that you're going to have to get your reader over, because the most instinctive response would be, it's not a big deal, it's just children's fiction. Disney princesses can be, however they want, for all I care. They're not shaping anything in a significant way. Well, the first thing that the student would have to lay out in their line of reasoning is that that's an incorrect assumption, that Disney princesses actually do play an influential role in shaping the identities of young women. And if they do, all right, then it follows that we should investigate the quality of that influence. All right, so the next phase of the claim argues that this influence is modeling harmful definitions of what it means to be a woman to naive and vulnerable consumers, i.e., children. Okay, so here the student has offered another or established another thing that they have to prove, another assertion that they need to evidence, and that assertion is that this influence has been harmful. Its overall quality has not been good. All right, well, they're going to have to qualify what they mean by that in their body paragraphs, which they do, all right, with an analysis of actual Disney movies, okay, analyzing the characters and discussing the ways in which they are indeed harmful, okay? And then finally, all right, watch this. It's a multi-layered claim. It's a really good claim, okay? Finally, the student moves on to offer a kind of claim of policy in light of this fact and this value assertion. Okay, so this is a fact, and I proved it to you. Their influence has been harmful, and I've proved it to you. All right, obviously, you would need to prove it. We haven't watched the proof unfold. We will later, but this promises that you will. And then finally, right, I'm now going to recommend something for you to do, right? Notice the student doesn't offer a sort of illogical, crazy recommendation that Disney should be shut down. Well, that's obviously un-American and ridiculous. You can't shut down a private corporation because they're not producing the kind of feminine identity that you support or think is good. Rather, it says that people responsible for raising young girls, parents, educators should consciously seek out alternative fictional feminine models for young girls to engage. All right. Why fictional? Well, the next sentence explains. It qualifies this statement. It says it's imperative or really important that these models be accessible to the child's imagination and engaged with in the context of play to build an alternative narrative or story about what it means to be a good woman, a narrative of femininity that champions, and then we get to the final assertion here, that champions deliberate choice. Okay, so choices that are that are on purpose, that women in these narratives are making in accordance with their values. In other words, free choices that are conscientiously made by women in narrative situations that align with their values and the service of one's community at the expense of their own comfort. Okay, so all of these assertions are sort of welded together in the argument, and each portion of the argument needs to be proven in a variety of different ways. Guess what the essay does? It proves each aspect of the claim in a well-structured line of reasoning that offers evidence to each one of these layered assertions. So, do we have a logical pattern? Do we have a structure that is previewed in the argument or a logical pattern established by the essay? Yes, okay, we do. It already previews the structure of the argument. First, we're going to do this. Second, we're going to do this. Third, we're going to explain this, and then why this. Okay, so we've got three major sections of the essay that need to be explored. All right. Does the statement require proof? Yes. All right. All of the assertions in the statement are contentious. They could be argued against, and the student is going to go out of their way in order to make sure that their argument is well evidenced and satisfies all of the concerns of a reasonable person making counter arguments to this line of reasoning. Okay, so that's all we're going to do for today. We're looked at rhetorical situation and claims. All right, we looked at developing and generating ideas about the prompt, which is ultimately simply just establishing some kind of reasonable response to the rhetorical situation given to you by the prompt. And then we looked at the construction of an effective thesis statement, or as said in the AP focus points, writing a thesis statement that requires proof and defense that previews the structure of an argument. Okay, tomorrow we're going to look at the nature, the structure of the paragraphs. All right. But ultimately, what you should take away from this is the fact that you need to make sure that you have a topic, all right, that is genuinely contentious, okay, and genuinely relevant to American society and presented, all right, according to the academic context in which you are writing. And also, finally, okay, that you have a central claim that offers a statement that needs proof. Okay, you don't have to have as layered a claim as this, but I'm giving you this as an example to show you a claim that has layered proofs that need to be established in order for this statement, which summarizes the argument, to be held as cogent or held as valid. All right, that's all we have for today. Hope you guys have an excellent day.